Hello, how are you today? I want to talk to you about something that happened to me in 2013. My name is Philip Gould, and I'm a certified life coach, and I've been practicing a life philosophy for over 50 years called SGI or Nichiren Buddhism, which originated from India to China, Korea, and in Japan. And now it's all over the world. It's a movement for world peace. Anyway, I want to explain to you something that happened to me in 2013. I was living in the Philippines and I had been married, but my wife and I broke up. During this time, I was living alone. I had a job, and all of a sudden, one day I got very sick. I went home. Actually, it's the first time in my life I ever left a job or left my work because I was sick. So this was serious because it never happened before. And I really sincerely did not feel well. So I went and I had an ultrasound, I had blood tests, I had a CT scan, and they found out that I had needed to have my gallbladder removed, surgically removed. So the doctor in the Philippines told me that this is what I needed to have done. But I don't like surgery. I'm sure none of us do, right? So what happened was my friend Rita, she told me, "Hey, Philip, why don't you go with me to see Dr. Tan, who is a traditional Chinese herbal doctor living in the Philippines?" I went to see him, and he immediately diagnosed in 5 minutes, actually less than 5 minutes, maybe 3 minutes. He diagnosed my situation, and his diagnosis was more thorough and complete than the Western doctor at Makati Medical with all those tests. Okay. So I learned to respect traditional Chinese herbal medicine because they have over 5,000 years of history behind them. It's not something that just came up 200-300 years ago, with test tubes and microscopes. They've been doing this for a long time. Anyway, I'm trying to make this long story short. What happened was I had two symptoms. The first symptom was I couldn't sleep. Imagine I slept maybe 2 hours a night for 6 weeks. Imagine getting only 2 hours of sleep per night from like 4 a.m. till 6 a.m. in the morning for 6 weeks. I was beyond tired. I don't know what I was. And the second symptom was I had jaundice and I had hives. My body was constantly itching. And what made it worse is I couldn't sleep, so I couldn't relieve myself of the conscious awareness of this constant itching to stop it. At least if I could sleep, I could have some kind of relief. The universe would not let me sleep. And I started to think, what's going on? Well, I've never heard of a disease like this. These symptoms are so strange. Anyway, Dr. Tan gave me herbs. So I never had to have my gallbladder removed surgically, which would have been a complete waste anyway. And there's many aspects to it I can explain further. But anyway, I took these herbs every morning and every evening. I made this herb tea. I went back to see him in the beginning every 3 days. And then after a while, every 5 days. And then it continued every 7 days. I took different herbs that he gave me. And gradually, after 4 or 5, 6 weeks, I could sleep. The itching stopped. I got better. I never had to have surgery. So he saved my life. I did have a problem with my gallbladder, my spleen, and my liver. But during this time, here's the benefit, or here's what I want to share with you. Because I had gone through a separation, I was alone. I was living totally alone in this little room that I had rented near where I work. And to be honest with you, I wasn't in a good life condition. Okay. I had been meditating or chanting and praying continually, but this was my karma. So we learn in life that everything is based on cause and effect. We make a cause, we get an effect. We make a cause today, and sometimes we'll get the effect tomorrow. Sometimes we make a cause, we don't get the effect for a year or 2 or 10 or 50 years later. Because we believe, some of us believe, that life is eternal, and we've had many lifetimes before, perhaps the cause that I made in the past to experience the suffering in this lifetime, I made that cause 1,000 lifetimes ago or 1,000,000 lifetimes ago. I don't know where and when I made the cause. I don't know specifically what was the cause, but we do believe in cause and effect. During this time, because I had separated from my wife and later on we got divorced, I was losing my temper. I was criticizing people and blaming them. I was screaming and yelling at my landlord. I was in a bad life condition. But I could not escape from the universe forcing me to look at myself. Imagine there's 24 hours in a day. You can sleep for 2 hours. The other 22 hours, you're alone, staring at your own life. You want to evade it? You want to run away? You cannot. You are forced, like a mirror, forced in front of your eyes to stare at yourself, to look. This is me. This is my life. How did this happen? And then I came to the realization after quite a while, maybe 2, 3, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, I came to the realization that I had become like my mother. But I never wanted to be like my mother in that respect, because my mother was always pointing her finger. She was always judging people, putting people down. She had part of her kind of an arrogant nature, even though I love my mother very much and she was actually a great mother. She did have this arrogant part of her. And I inherited that, because I watched her. But I always wanted to be like my father. I never wanted to be like my mother. But my father died when I was 6 years old. So, for 40 years, from 6 until in my 50s, there's my mother in front of me, calling me, talking to me. Every Christmas I saw her. Of course, every birthday, we took her out. Every Mother's Day, we bought her a gift. So, she was definitely very prevalent in my life. And even though I didn't want to be like that, because I kept seeing that with my eyes, I kept being, that was in my environment, so to speak. I became like her. I was pointing my finger at people. I was judging them, righteous indignation, I'm right and you're wrong. And why did you do that? And don't you know, where did you go to school? And, don't you know better than that? Weren't you trained? And always judging people, I really had a kind of an arrogant nature. I had a short fuse, but I never saw it until then. And then it happened. Lo and behold, the universe forced me to look at myself as I really am. I consider this the greatest benefit that I have ever received in my lifetime. I was forced to see myself as I actually am. I believe that the vast majority of people go through life never having an experience like that. They never get that benefit of the ability to see themselves as they really are. And then I realized I had become like my mother. And I have read and I have heard all human beings become their mother when they get older, because their mother is the one in front of their eyes. Imagine the visual cortex is receiving this data from watching your mother, the way she moves, the expressions on her face, the sound in her voice, her attitude, the way she points her finger, the things she does. You may not like it, you may not agree with it, but it still comes in to you, you see? Now, your unconscious mind does not know whether it's good or bad or right or wrong. It just says, give me the data, give me the data. The data comes in, and the data builds up a habit. It builds up a pattern, a trigger. Oh my goodness gracious. This was mind-blowing to the greatest extent. Then I made a determination. I am never going to be like that again. I always wanted to be like my father. So I gave rebirth to the father inside of me that I had loved so much, I had idolized since I was a child. And I made a determination, I'm going to be like him. I'm never going to be like her. I'm never going to act like that anymore. And I apologized to my landlord who, I don't know, I think she hated my guts. Later on, she became a very good friend, and some of the people in my environment that I had been rude to or arrogant with, I apologized. And I made a determination to completely change my attitude. I wasn't going to put people down anymore. I wasn't going to build myself up by putting them down. Have you ever heard this? You can never become happy by making other people unhappy. I don't care if they're right or wrong, if they do something good or bad. If you make them unhappy, if you put them down, it's not going to make your life better. You're going to try to help them. You're going to try to see things from their point of view. But to criticize them, to have, anger towards them, or resent what they did, or to hold a grudge, to seek revenge, these are not beneficial attitudes. They will not help you become better. They will not help you live longer. So this was a very amazing experience that I had. I wanted to share with you. About 2 or 3 months later, I went to the store and I had a bag that I carried things in, and I asked them to repair the bag. There was something that needed to be sewn on the side. It was ripping. So I said to the man, please sew the side. And I gave him, it was like 50 pesos. And he said, well, what about the zipper on the other side? I said, no, don't worry about the zipper. Don't change the zipper. Just sew the side only. Don't touch the zipper. Okay. Gave him the 50 pesos. He says, come back in an hour. I came back in an hour, and the guy said, oh, I fixed the zipper too. I went, oh. Now, the mother inside of me started talking. This is in my mind. I didn't open up my mouth, but in my mind, I heard her voice. Why'd you do that? I told you, don't touch the zipper. What's wrong with you? Don't you listen? I'm not going to pay for that. Who do you think you are? You're trying to take advantage of me? That was my mother's voice inside my mind. And then my father popped up on my other side and said to my mother, in my mind, he said to my mother, shut up. We don't talk like that anymore. I looked at the man. I looked at the bag. I said, thank you very much. I gave him the 50 pesos, which is $1. And then I left. And then I realized, oh my goodness, I've changed. In my whole life, I had never responded like that before. When someone didn't do something right, I never let them off the hook. I always made them pay the price. I always chastised them, judged them, punished them, because that's what my mother did to me all my life. So I realized, oh my goodness, I've really changed. This change, this ability to see yourself as you really are, is the greatest gift. From that point, many, many, many things opened up in my life. A door that had been closed for over 50 years opened up. And this door is continuing now. This was 2013. Now it's 2021. It's already 8 years later. This door is continuing to open up wider and wider and wider and wider. There's so much I'm discovering about who I am and what I can do over and above what I thought I was. I can do things I didn't know I could do. I didn't have to act like that. So I just want to share that with you. Thank you for listening. And next week, we're going to talk again about something that's also very profound. Bye-bye. Oh, I didn't record.